Live shopping isn't just a trend, it's the retail revolution, and Sprii is leading the way. We're here to show businesses the magic of using video and social media to skyrocket sales and expand their audience. At Sprii, we're all about making your sales savvy and your connections rock solid. So let's dive in and make your retail dreams come true. Hey everybody, and welcome to our latest Sprii Expert Talk. I'm Corey Morris, CMO here at Sprii, and today we're diving into what Western brands can steal from Asia's social commerce boom. And if you've been following the headlines, you'll know the numbers are absolutely staggering. So in Asia, 84% of consumers have already watched or bought through a live stream, and it gets even better. Globally, live commerce is projected to hit $2 trillion by 2030. And yet many Western brands, however, maybe you included, are still playing catch up. So the question is, folks, how do we close that gap? What can we actually learn from Asia's playbook, and how do we apply it here in Europe and in North America? So to dig into this, I recently spoke, with Ron Wardle, live shopping strategist and #1 Amazon best-selling author of a book called Innovation Factory. So in our conversation, Ron shared what's driving Asia's live shopping boom, the lessons Western brands can take from it, and the practical steps that you can use to launch your own strategy right now. Here's my interview with Ron Wardle. Enjoy. Ron, thanks so much for joining us today. And for those who don't know you yet, can you give us a quick intro and maybe talk about your background, in particular, how you came to focus on live shopping and social commerce?
Great. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Corey, and the Sprii team. You guys are doing wonderful work where you guys are as well too. So always great to see success you guys are pushing out with the live stream shopping and all the things you guys are doing around social commerce. So congratulations for you and your team. For myself, I've been in the social commerce and live streaming space since early inception, which is really not that long ago, since 2016, 17 in China. But my journey started long before that in the e-commerce space back in 2010 in China. Start bringing a lot of brands into China to do e-commerce before live streaming was live streaming what it is today. So we ran flagship stores for a number of different brands, everything from NFL to Harley Davidson to Ocean Spray, and the list goes on for over 150 different brands. So we did that in China for quite a few years until live stream shopping actually started taking off in basically 2016. Since that time, our agency, we ended up setting up about 8 live stream centers that were going basically 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, broadcasting the different activities and stuff we had through live stream. So fast forward up today, obviously the Western markets, whether it's Europe or US, is actually starting to take off on different areas, whether it's a platform like whether it's Amazon Live or TikTok Shop, some of these type of major platforms, but also brands themselves, because that's one of the major differences between maybe some of the stuff in Asia and especially China, that brands run across their own .com versus a major platform. So, and that given that a lot of these brands are just taking on that activities on their own website, which is fantastic. So that's kind of where we are and things like that. And that's kind of a little bit of my background.
Thanks for that. And I'd love to see that evolution. So as you know, there's a lot of research coming out about this right now. And some recent research actually shows that this number is absolutely amazing, but 84% of Asian consumers have watched or bought via live stream. I think that's massive. What's driving this level of adoption, Ron?
Yeah, what's driving it is the platforms themselves, right? Especially for China or even other parts of Asia. So we'll take China specifically, right? There's made with about a little over 1 billion consumers online. There's basically 3 major platforms to be on. Right. So if you have a concentration of people on a few different platforms, the ability to be able to go live and do live shopping on there and the adoption of that through those major platforms is just immense. Outside of China, there's definitely some, whether you're in Vietnam, whether you're in Taiwan, you're in Thailand, there's again some major platforms in that space as well too, where everyone gravitates towards, right? Versus again, Western whether it's a US market or European markets, a lot of them still using their .coms versus major platforms. So again, when you have, another 700-800 million people in Southeast Asia that are just using 3 or 4 platforms as well too, there's just a concentration of traffic there. And the more traffic you have, instead of spending a lot of money on SEO, people are just going live and doing the live shopping. And I think the second reason on there is because the tools are all built in, whether it's from payments to checkout to logistics, everything's built in to the system. And so there's no like leaving or clicking over and going to a different website, setting up a new account, checking out as guest somewhere. You're already a member of those different platforms. And so it's just an easy checkout, an easy streamlined process.
Yeah, so it's really about creating that seamless user experience so everything happens in the same place. Let's talk about some of the examples. So can you share 1 or maybe 2 standout examples from markets like China, Indonesia, or wherever that really show how powerful live commerce has become?
Yeah, let me just give you a couple really quick examples. We'll start with Japan, right? People don't really hear a lot about Japan. So there's a company that's, it's a fashion design house. They're a small boutique. They have about 10 different retail stores throughout Japan. They have and they do live stream on their own website as well too. So they go live every night at 8 p.m. Okay. Every night, wow. Every night, 7 days a week, 8 p.m., 20 to 30 minutes each time. They come on and they visit different retail locations when they do this as well too. They come on, they hold up a physical card that shows the coupon code that they're using for that night. And it's a big reveal each time. They have this, they hold it, and they talk a few minutes, introduce some of the different staff there, and they do the reveal of what that coupon code is. Now, they're not doing huge volume because they have like, a flash sale or something like that. They have, designer pieces and stuff they do as well too. Just middle price. And the second thing they do after they do that, they actually hold up an iPad and run the customers through how to check out. So everyone knows if you're a new viewer in there, it takes 30 seconds, 45 seconds, but they do this every time. It's part of their SOPs. They go through their iPad to show people how to check out, how to add to cart, how these do these things. Then the third thing they do, which is really intuitive, which a lot of brands don't do, is when they're trying on different clothes, whatever model or whatever staff comes in, they actually have the size, right? The height and the size of the clothing written on a card physically. They hold up instead of just put it on a green screen or something over. And they talk about that and they hold that the whole time as a visual enhancer of what they're doing for the whole live stream process. And I can tell you just on that aspect around their average order value has increased by about 47% for what they're doing. Obviously return rates way down. And their overall revenue from their live streams is more than 35% of all of their total 10 store retails. And they just keep doing this every night.
What I love about that is how much information is actually being conveyed in such a short amount of time, but also in a dynamic and personal way. But love the fact that they're actually taking the extra step to educate the consumer about this new medium, actually to help them understand how incredibly easy it is to make that purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do that because they have so many new visitors and stuff and clients coming in, because they do simulcast to not only YouTube, but also Instagram. They do that simulcast from that. So there's always new people coming in. They do invite some influencers or creators to come in to bring their audiences. So that's why they do this every time. It's just part of their SOP, and it's in the front end of their whole, live stream. And again, it's 20 to 30 minutes every single night. People expect that. It's like tuning into some type of a TV show, right? So.
That's great. So look, there's another key insight from some of the reports that are coming out is that Asia's playbook isn't necessarily what we'd call a one size fits all. So what works maybe in Japan, maybe would flop in Jakarta or vice versa. How should Western brands, the people who are listening right now, how should they interpret that?
Yeah, I think, because of again, for China or even Southeast Asia, stuff like that, the concentration of people on these major platforms, the consumers on those major platforms, there's a natural type of attrition with that as well, too, when they have it on those platforms. But when, Western brands, when they're doing their own live stream, they have to really think about the strategy. Again, it's not a one-off type of scenario, which a lot of brands think about. They see the headlines come from China, right? They see it sold X amount of dollars and it's huge headlines. And they try to replicate that, and it doesn't really work. The reason I gave the Japan scenario and story for that as well too is to show that consistency on a small brand and how much volume they can do from that. But again, creating a community from the live stream as well too. It has to be part of your playbook versus, on a China model or outside of that, you're doing these big, promotion. Maybe it's a group buy, or you're doing some type of a flash sale that you're doing from there. So it's going to be a one-off event, maybe once every couple of weeks or once a month you're doing this. This is a daily activity. And this is what Western brands really need to understand, is to create that consistency with your consumer base and build that community. Whether it's once a week, is it once a day, once a month, you need to communicate that very, very well with your consumers and your shoppers there, so they really know what to expect, and then deliver on that as well too. Give it, again, very engaging, very educational type of matters, but also keep the it's not just you go live just to sell stuff every time. Sometimes it's, we can go through kind of the playbook, the 3 different pillars of basically what social commerce really kind of filters down to.
What's the biggest mistake that you think Western retailers make when they try to replicate Asia's strategy? Is it the fact that they're trying to find a cure-all? They maybe go live once, it doesn't work, and then they just abandon it?
Yeah, I've seen that especially on the US market. A lot of again, people see the headlines coming out of China. They think they're going to do the same thing. They spend a month pre-prepping, getting the stuff, getting the huge productions. They go live once. And one thing they always forget is traffic. Right? When you have 1 billion people on 3 platforms in China versus whoever's coming to your website. And the thing with the US brands, because you're spanned against 4 different time zones, trying to drive your customers from West Coast, East Coast, if you're depending on where you are, they're not going to be the same customers coming at that time when you actually go live. So you need to go live when your customers are. But again, it's consistency to go across the different things. I think that's one of the major things that Western brands really forget about, is how to drive the proper amount of traffic from into a live stream.
Yeah, one thing is not just going live, it's also actually getting people to your live and creating that excitement around it so that people come fully engaged. So a lot of reports also showing that Gen Z is actually driving this shift, but at the same time, older consumers are really active too. What does this mean for Western brands listening in that still see live shopping as a, let's just say, Gen Z only tactic?
Yeah, we've seen a bunch of reports. Again, I've seen even some of the clients I work with on the US market where Facebook was actually their #1 market and #1 community they build there. And so when brands go live from their own website, they also simulcast, or they can do the simulcast to Facebook to actually pull that traffic over to their own website. So the older generation will definitely be, whether it's Gen X and above that, they're basically going to be on your Facebooks and stuff. So you're not just, adhering, or at least to, trying to pull traffic from that type of age group versus the TikTok shop type of group as well too, which could be the Gen Z or even millennials from that as well too. So you really have to think about where your customers are and make sure that you show up and communicate them on their platform in their terms.
Yeah, I think it's also about finding the users where they are, and we do know that the demographics are changing between Facebook and Instagram and your other channels as well. So that's definitely a good piece of advice to consider. But speaking of advice, so if I'm a retailer in Europe, North America right now, and I want to start tomorrow, what, in your opinion, are the first 3 critical steps that I should take?
Yeah, I think #1 is to have the mindset that it's not a one-off event, right? This is going to be part of your digital playbook. I know a lot of US brands, they work with third-party agencies, whether it's a PR agency, whether it's an e-commerce agency, or even a social agency, is to make sure that all 3 of them, or whoever your outsource or even in-source team, knows that this live stream and social commerce part is actually part of the playbook. Just like they had before, like we're running our ad spend and we're doing our social creator influence. This has to be part of that whole discussion as well too, and part of the playbook. So that's the #1 thing they have to do, is like, hey, make sure that we're in this for the long haul. Second thing they have to do is don't overthink about going live and getting, the proper traffic and the right script and the right host and all these different things. Definitely do your run of show. Make it, because you're going to have a consistent ongoing show and you're going to learn. When you start, you may not be that great. That's okay. There's plenty of great agencies out there that can help coach you along. And the more you do it, the more you're going to get better at it, right? Basically sharpening the sword each time you go out there to get better. And then the third thing is to use your physical locations as a live stream center, or even your office or a warehouse, wherever it is. Don't go to some third party and get a big studio and all these different things. Use your own office or warehouse or store as a retail location and set up a small corner. That's where you're going to go live from. Customers can come in, they see it, they're waiting for that show to happen, whenever it's going to be happening. and they can get attracted from that as well too. So I think the easiest thing, those are the three easiest things for people in the Western and European brands can think about going live.
Those are great tips, and those are really actionable tips as well. And what we also tell people is that obviously you can start with a Hollywood level production, but you don't necessarily need to. I mean, you can take just your phone, maybe a ring light if you want to improve the lighting, maybe some decent sound, and then there you go. But I love the idea of bringing your physical location and making that into that digital experience, but also doing it while customers are actually in the store, because that's a great way of getting them educated about the fact that you're actually doing this, so they can look forward to continuing that experience once they've left the physical store. Those are really good.
Absolutely. And so one other point on that as well too is that there is a time and place to do the bigger production. If it's a bigger holiday thing, maybe it's once a quarter, every 6 months, you want to do a bigger, more professional. That's definitely doable, and it's highly recommended at some point as well too. But to go live consistently and do this, for example, like the Japanese company, again, you don't have to go daily, but you have to be consistent and just go do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we see people go live every day. We see some people go live every week. Some do it every month, quarter. It's all depends on their existing campaign plan. But I think what they're discovering is that people are hungry for a community. People are hungry to actually get to know the people behind the brands, the faces. And typically, some of the more established brands, they shy away from that, right? They don't want to associate themselves with a particular face or a voice. But I think that in the day and age that we live right now, that's kind of expected. But you kind of talked a little bit about just going live. And one of the things that we hear from people is like, we really want to do this, but how do we decide on the right host? Or do we need to bring in an influencer? And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of reports right now suggest that bigger influencers still carry more trust in Asia. Does that really apply to the West too?
Not so much the West, because it's still brand new. So they haven't had that level of exposure yet. So again, number one selling feature for the Western market is authenticity. And again, as you just mentioned, right, is talking about having your own staff, your own internal personalities, or even a third party come in and be part of your group. Even if you have an outside influencer come in and work with you, they should be able to pair and match with, for example, a CMO or a marketing or designer, from someone from your company, to get that authentic brand spirit, and not just an influencer trying to. And a lot of folks maybe think it's just they're just trying to sell you something as well too. Coming on, we've seen that early on the U.S. market, is that some of these bigger brands would hire some larger influencers that have huge followings, but never translated into sales. There was not that connection to the brand and what this influencer is actually selling. And I'm sure you guys have seen this as well too. The more authentic that comes from the brand itself, the bigger the community build, but also the more revenue you make as well too.
Absolutely. Just having those honest, transparent, two-way conversations with people. And we often, a lot of people talk about the fear of making mistakes or maybe going off script. That's actually what people want. They don't.
Yeah, I mean, the bloopers. The thing about this, a lot of the movie stuff, the bloopers. People, look at the Jackie Chan movies. You're waiting for the end of the movie so you can watch all of the outtakes, right? That's the best part of the movie, almost. So this.
I love that. I love that. So let's just say that Ron, you've sold me on this right now. I'm looking into Q4 retail prime time. Knowing what you know and being the strategist that you are, what's a quick win that Western brands could implement this quarter to see an immediate lift in engagement or conversions?
Yeah, so we're getting close to the, basically the fourth quarter, stuff like that, when a majority of retailers and brands generate a lion's share of their revenue for the year, right? So right now you start thinking about, and again, you think about, in Asia, I can tell you there's two different product styles that sell very well. One is a hero product, right? Whatever that is, that's going to be your hero product. You're always going to be pushed at to some degree with some type of small discount typically. Another one's going to be a group of products or a bundle of products that's going to be part of that. So you got to think about that right now ahead of time before you hit your, when you hit into October, right? When you have your Halloween, then you have your Thanksgiving, then your Christmas type of sales and conversion you're going to be doing, and then New Year. So think about those different components and buckets you want to be able to push out to your consumers as well too. So think about the product mix, but then also think about the pricing and what you're trying to create from that as well too, right? Special bundles work very, very well and you don't always have to discount your products very much, right? And I can
Good
give you an
point.
example. I'll let you ask a question here, and I'll give you a really good example from Harley Davidson.
No, I want to hear. Let's hear the example from Harley Davidson. I would love that.
Yeah. So again, we ran Harley Davidson. They're not the motorcycle shop itself. We ran all of the e-commerce, include all the apparel and accessories and stuff like that. But one of the, in China, they have a thing called Singles Day, or 11/11, happens in November, largest sales day on the planet. So what we did, we teamed up with one of their retailers, actually sold motorcycles. Right. And they do have some different gear, but we ran the online flagship store for e-commerce for all the apparel and accessories. So we had leather jackets and hats and gloves and scarves and jeans and all these different things. So what we did is pair up with them along with the platform itself with Alibaba. So they had this big 11/11 gala event that came out in front of hundreds of millions of people on 11/11. So what we did is we end up rolling out 10 motorcycles onto stage with them, this huge type of thing with them, and they were all about $20,000 each, right? They sold instantly, but what happened is, if you bought those, we would also provide another $1,000 in vouchers for the store itself, right? So you can come back and you can use that anytime during the next year to do that. So we didn't discount any product. We gained loyal followers. We had a huge brand awareness, and we were able to get those shoppers average order value through the roof for this as well too. And over that time, we actually took different videos and stuff of them actually claiming the different gifts inside the stores where it's, or being delivered to the retailer itself, and do a lot more content from that as well too. They help drive further brand awareness. Additionally, for everyone that got in that bought those 10 bikes and stuff like that, they also got put into a special Harley Davidson VIP group that allowed for everything from new releases, but also some ride-in, what they call the ride-in wear type of club they have as well too, which is part of the Harley Hog Club they have. But they have a special one that's only for some special release bikes they can come and test as well too. So there's a lot of benefits for doing that as well too. But again, providing more value than just trying to say, here's a cheap product, come buy it at a cheap price and whatever, right? So that's a little bit different.
Yeah, you created an experience, you created an upsell opportunity, you matched the digital up with the physical side of it.
Right.
Lots of good lessons there. And I love Harley Davidson, by the way. My dad's an owner of quite a few motorcycles. He does not let me touch them though. So
yeah, see, that everyone's got their own thing with them as well too. So
yeah, it's his baby. It's his baby. Sometimes I wonder if he loves that thing more than he loves his family. But anyway. Hey, so 2 quick questions. I've seen a recent report that said that the live commerce market is projected to reach, and this number is amazing, but $2 trillion globally by 2030. What do you see as the biggest growth opportunities for Western brands in the next 2 to 3 years as it pertains to the live commerce market?
Yeah, I think the greatest, or the largest opportunity for them is to get in and start doing this as soon as possible, right? So because we see where the projections go, this isn't like a test and we'll see what happens. It's already been proven, not only from the China side, but from Southeast Asia has been working really well as well too. Western brands are just starting to get in. It's not something that's going to be slowing down. It's actually accelerating even at a faster pace. Folks like, for example, TikTok Shop and stuff are really pushing the acceleration of this and showing people how it actually works. And so more and more brands are going to be accelerating their ideas and their activities onto more live shopping as well too. So whether it's using, and again, most of the people are going to be using their own branded.com websites to do this stuff, but there's ways to do this properly to actually generate the revenue and the community that you're looking to do.
Wonderful. So if you had to leave Western retailers, brands with one piece of advice about social commerce, what would that be?
Number one would be put it on your planning to make sure it's part of your playbook.
Love that. And finally, Ron, first of all, thanks for being a part of this. This was great. Where can people connect with you to keep the conversation going?
Yeah, to keep the conversation going, easy to find me on LinkedIn, right? Just my name, Ron Wardle. You'll see it on there. It says social commerce, live streaming expert, whatever you want to call me from that. But yeah, I specialize in social commerce, whether it's from the China side, but also in the Western markets as well too. So
wonderful. So folks, go out there, connect with Ron. As you can hear, the guy's a treasure trove of knowledge about all things related to social commerce. Ron Wardle, thanks so much for being a part of the Expert Talk.
Thank you so much, Corey. I really appreciate you and the Sprii team for all you guys are doing for the voice of.
We'll have you back
the
soon.
voice of
Thanks,
live
man.
streaming and everything. So perfect.
Wonderful. Thanks. Thanks for today.
You bet. Thank you.
So that was my conversation with Ron Wardle, and I hope you're all leaving with some clear takeaways. So how Asia built such a powerful social commerce ecosystem, what lessons Western brands can apply, and most importantly, a few quick wins that you can put into practice already this quarter. Now, if you'd like to explore more, then head over to Sprii.io, where you'll find additional expert talks just like this, case studies, crash courses, and resources to help your brand launch and scale live shopping. And if you registered for this talk, registered is such a hard word to say. If you registered for this talk, then don't worry. The full recording will also land straight in your inbox. So thanks so much for watching, and hey, we'll see you next time.